Well, good morning. Welcome to episode 2 of The Call. I'm Scott,
Yeah, everybody, I'm Pat.
and today, hello, Pat. Welcome to the call. And today
Yeah,
we're
good to see you,
talking,
buddy.
yeah, man. Today we're talking about the episode topic we came up with today is, do you need an audience? Do you need an
Yeah, wow.
audience?
Right. Okay. So everybody, this is the call, uh, otherwise known as Dopscat podcast scrambled up ramblings. So Dopscat means Dop. We don't know what that means. It doesn't mean shit. And scat is a form of shit. So meaningless shit. And
I love that.
and and so this topic, of course, is on our minds because it's on our minds because we're doing a call and we're going to put it out for you all to check out if you'd like. And so these days it seems like everyone needs slash wants an audience, right?
Dude, great
What
point, Pat. I didn't even think about it in the terms of like social media, Facebook. Everybody's Everybody's competing for your attention. Everybody needs an audience.
Yeah, dude, I mean, like at one point, I'm in a position with a network marketing company where the doctor, the nutritional doctor for the company has put me on this athletic advisory board. And at one point I have, I don't know, 1,500, 2,000, people on Facebook, just, for my personal account. And, I'm considering it to be like a monumental step in the right direction, like a big accomplishment. It didn't parlay.
Interesting. Right. Our our likes, our followers are an accomplishment in this current society. Very interesting concept.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, you know, interestingly enough, I think we could probably talk about it's that whole need to be liked, need to be wanted, need to fit in. Um, and I've always, I think a lot of people have contemplated this. Is it better to have one really, really good friend, or is it better to have 20, you know, marginal friends or semi close friends? I don't know the answer to that. What do you think, dude? Like, yeah, what's going on?
I think it's been, during recovery for me, it's been so interesting, this concept of one of the very first lessons I learned was to do three kind things for another person without getting found out. And when we talked about, do you need an audience? That's what I immediately thought of, right? Like, do I need to be found out? And I got to tell you, even today, after a long road of being, you know, in recovery, I still want to tell somebody like, hey, I gave this homeless dude $5, and I know there's probably dudes out there laughing at me, but um, there is something innate about wanting to be found out for how good I am, and like that begs the question: how good is it really if I have to have somebody watching? And so that's what I thought of when you brought up the social media thing. I find that extremely interesting because even this show, I mean, obviously, we're putting this out to have an audience. We want an audience. We're doing this for you guys, for an audience, because we find so much value in these conversations. And when we don't have them, we really miss them. And so it maybe inspired us a little bit to share them with you because they were so helpful for us. Man, if there's a guy out there without that one close friend, Pat, then they got us to listen to, right? So here we are, like literally searching for an audience, but also, questioning the validity and the value of it. So for me, um, I'm just going to be honest with you and say it's an obstacle. I think and any famous people listening could probably line us out that an audience isn't quite as glorious as it sounds. Like, can you imagine being Will Smith or, Robert De Niro or Jennifer Aniston, where you can't even leave the privacy of your own situation without getting mobbed by people? I mean, that's an extreme example, but My goodness.
Dude, no. That, yeah, it sounds horrible. And yet, uh, I would wager that there's been times in my life, and I would wager that there's a lot of people listening, that when they hear those names, at the very least, they're like, yeah, I want that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
want to be that.
Yeah. Me,
And
the
so,
present company included, right? Like I thought I wanted that for a long time.
yeah, yeah. So it's funny because the topic is, do you need an audience? And you actually just said this. I think you said something to the degree of that we are seeking an audience, or that we need an audience, or something like that. And the reality of it is, we've been doing this for 8, 10 years, ballpark, right?
Yeah,
I'm just
totally.
throwing out numbers, but we've been doing this for 8, 10 years with no audience. so so and the benefit has been
Does the
immense.
audience need us? Right now, I'm just kidding. I'm not that cocky.
Well, right. And so, um, I it's an interesting one. I mean, I guess it just depends on what you're looking to do, right? I mean, like, if you're looking to grow a business, or sell a product or something to that degree, then of course you have to have an audience. Like, I know a big business guy, that has had a lot of influence on me lately, and his number one thing is attention, right? Like, attention, period. And oftentimes when I hear that, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Does that mean good or bad attention? When does attention become, when can you get attention that's so negative that it actually reduces your attention?
Oh, that's good. And especially for those on social media content, you know, people out there trying to put themselves out, maybe not even to build a business or to grow a brand, but just literally for their own self need and want that validation, to kind of continue the topic from yesterday, to just be okay. And I think that's the big question here is, do you need an audience? Maybe not as a group, not as a business, not as like us as the call. Of course you need to like put your, like I think you've said with the guy you're working with, money follows attention, and he's trying to grow a brand. He's trying to 10x his life. I think I just gave away who it is, but
All good.
that needs an audience because you need a customer base. I think the real heart of this question is for us individually as men. Do we need an audience to validate how we feel inside? Do we need an audience to pat us on the back to say what we're doing, that we're okay? And I wonder if it's just kind of a human nature thing.
I definitely, I mean, like, if you were to examine it from, you know, evolutionary standpoint, or biological, like, we are, I think without question, you can say that we are a species that requires, interaction, and things like that. On the flip side of it, the whole being okay aspect and needing an audience. I I don't want to get into like really deep spiritual stuff because I feel like I don't even know enough to be qualified. But it seems to me, all extremely spiritual beings that people have flocked to follow, and value their message, all of them spent an enormous amount of time at some point in their life in complete solitude.
Hmm.
Right. And one of my favorite stories is that guy Dick Prenicky, right? That flies into the Alaskan woods, or doesn't fly in, he gets flown in to the Alaskan woods, and builds himself a cabin by hand on a lake, and then lives there for like 30 years, from like, I think 51 to 81, or 50 to 51 to 80, or something like that. And man, I often yearn for that, which obviously I think means that I must not think I need an audience per se. What's funny though is that here with Instagram and Facebook and all of that stuff, I saw a guy recently that is doing something similar, but I don't think it's in Alaska. I think he's like down south somewhere, like, Virginia, West Virginia or something. And he's building a cabin by hand, but he has millions of followers. Um, because he's basically showing them step by step what he's doing, and the struggles and the challenges and things like that.
Well, even
Um,
Dick Prenneke videoed everything and took journals, or else we wouldn't even have known that Dick Prenneke existed. Like
well, okay,
there's
okay.
film
So
of him with the
the video,
birds eating out of his hands, right?
spot on, spot on. Sorry to talk over you.
No worries.
The the video aspect, wow, I hadn't thought of that, is really indicative of the fact that he was, I guess, at some point wanting to be able to show his life to the world, or at least to an audience of some sort. The journals, though, I think are I don't necessarily think that's indicative. Do you? I mean,
I
like,
know that's a great point. That's a personal processing of
yeah,
his
journal,
own
right,
time.
right.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm writing in my journal, right. And by the way, one of my favorite lines from anything that I've seen, and I've kind of done a fair amount of it. One of my favorite lines is like, as he's been dropped off, he's got his canoe, and he's like walking with his pack to the original cabin that he's going to spend some time in, and he says he's videoing himself, right? So he's videoing himself as he's walking. So he's basically walking at the camera, and he says it will be interesting to see if I can live with myself.
So, do we yearn the cabin in the woods to get away from people or get towards ourselves? And I think that is a big part of this topic is do we there's this woman right now. I wish I remembered her last name. Her first name is Kelsey, and she's going to be the first American woman to cross the Pacific. She rode out of Oakland, out of San Francisco, and I think, she's just under like 275 miles away from Oahu right now. I've been following her on Instagram. She's rad. And she was talking about one of the most wonderful surprises of this journey was that she's really enjoyed that solitude, that ability to scream into the darkness or yell into the darkness and sing at the top of her lungs and really, and I think she would even say, just because I've heard her words on Instagram, I'm not trying to put words in her mouth, but I think I heard her say that she only gets to know herself at this depth and this level because of these extreme type sports. And her rowing across the ocean like this, that she's like already kind of mourning the loss of it because she's like, 275 miles over the course of a 2,000-mile trip. She's getting pretty close, right? Which, honestly, to think about 275 miles in a rowboat on the Pacific Ocean seems like a lot. But
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
almost there, and she knows it, and so she's almost mourning the loss of this alone time. And so, it's interesting how the topic may even like shift from do I need an audience to radically, do I really not want one? Do I really need that internal time, that alone time to be able to contemplate a deeper level of peace with or okayness within ourselves? Is it a connection to source or to the universe by having that really, really, really intense alone time?
Well, dude, it's really fascinating that you brought her up because, and I don't know anything about her. It's really exciting. I actually want to learn a lot about her now, and I feel like uh, a number of people go out on endeavors of this sort. What's really interesting about it is that you told me that there's an Instagram page around it, right? Like, so
Yeah, she's posting on Instagram while she goes. Like I get one almost every day. Day 30 of being the first woman to cross,
yeah,
first American woman to
right.
cross
So
the
if I'm
day
if
10.
I'm really seeking, like, if I'm really seeking self discovery and aloneness and solitude, am I doing Instagram?
Well, she's raising money for a paddle company out of the Grand Canyon because that's what she is. She's a river guide out of Grand Canyon, and so she's trying to raise money for a nonprofit, which is why she's doing it. Therefore, again, like everybody's competing for our attention, Pat. Like it's no matter who they are, she's got an agenda. Not to say that it's good, bad, or otherwise, but it is an agenda. She is trying to raise money for a nonprofit organization, so she needs an audience.
Well, this is the social nature of the human
God,
existence, right?
even
It's a
alone in the middle of, sorry to talk over you now. Even alone in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, she still has to manage her Instagram account. Like that poor lady.
well, you're right. I mean, it's funny because I just was up in the northern Rockies, near the Canadian border, and I'm driving on this dirt road, and I see this freaking weird looking thing on the side of the road, and I realize it's a bird. And dude, its head is all, it's like a big puffball black head. It's like a little ball, literally, like not a little ball, like the size of a racquetball. And then its tail is this big white fanned out plume. And so I pull over, man, because I'm like, what the hell? I've never, I grew up in Wyoming, and there are sage grouse in Wyoming. They get the big, yellow breasts and all that stuff. And so I'm like, what the hell is this thing? So I pull over, and I get video of it, and it's really cool video because, and then of course somebody asked me what kind of bird it is, and I'm like, it's a what I call it. I said it's a puffhead fantail, right? It's I don't even think I said fantail. I said I think I said fan ass, right? I said it's a puppy head fan ass. And so because I had no clue what bird it was.
Fantastic.
Anyway, come to find out it's a ruffed grouse. But the reason why I'm telling you that story is to make a joke, of course. But the other reason why I'm telling you that story is because that bird needs an audience, right?
Hey, yeah.
Like the it's and I uh, I'm listening to right now. I'm listening to the book that just came out as a movie, Project Hail Mary,
Oh yeah.
because we're going to potentially try to do it like as a family, like watch the movie and read the book, listen to the book. By the way, read probably means we're just talking to listen to an actor read us the book, and then
That
we'll,
counts
we'll
to
watch
me.
it.
For the record, I
Yeah,
feel like that counts.
it doesn't. That could be a topic at some point,
Yeah,
but
right.
it anyway. We're doing that, and so I'm listening to it, and it won't. I'm early in the book, and so I don't know much about what's going on, but at one point he realizes that he's going to die alone, right? And aren't we all?
Spoiler
Like
alert. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking.
no, no, well, no. This is like at the very beginning of the book.
I know, I know.
Like I'm only in like the third or fourth chapter when he says that he realizes that he's on a one-way mission, and and he's all alone because his compadres have already passed away. And so this is early in the book, so I'm not really spoiling it for
No,
anybody.
not at all, not at all.
And so I guess the point is, though, going back to the real point of what I'm talking about is like, okay, one, the ruffed grouse needs an audience. In other words, in our in our existence in a social species, we need an audience at the very least, for our endeavors. Like nothing, reproduction doesn't get done without an audience, right? You have to have at least one participating party with you, right? So there's two to have reproduction happen. And the only species that's not true for is what single celled organisms that just basically replicate and create duplications of themselves. So at the very least, unless if you're an advanced organism that has multiple cells and you need to reproduce, then you need an audience, right? I guess I don't know. I'm just talking shit here, but maybe I guess maybe reptiles, fish, things like that lay eggs that then later on get fertilized. Maybe they don't need an audience
Well, and it's
for reproduction.
interesting. I think it begs the question, like in any of these conversations we have, what's the healthy version and what's the unhealthy version? And to put it more simply, what's the effective version? What's the ineffective version? I think back, we talked a little bit yesterday about being 20. I think back to my 20s, I was, seeking an audience to cover up insecurities. I literally would project myself out there almost to send bombs to the alternate parties in order to not be seen, to be truly seen. And I was so horrified, and later on I found out that, I have fairly serious anxiety. I found that out from my child in this new generation that we're coming up. And obviously, we mentioned before, I live in Portland, Oregon, and there's definitely a recognition of some different human conditions out here. I think that's the most politically correct way that I could say that. That but, as my kiddos do these deep dives on what's going on with them, I'm learning from them, and I realize that high anxiety, and humor kinda go hand in hand. And I think I was using that, like, class clown sort of vibe, that, like, always in your face, always making jokes, always deflecting as a way to hide myself. So that was a really ineffective way to need an audience because I really just needed a good friend. And to bring it back to, like, do I want 20 people in my life? Honestly, Patrick, I've been happy all this time, those 8, 10 years you mentioned, having you. Because even though we don't get to see each other near enough, at least I have somebody to check in with each day that cares about me like I care about them, and I don't have to prop up 20 individuals that could give a shit if I live or die. I have a small handful of really good friends that I can really rely on, and I would take that over, a larger audience every day of the week. But I think when you talk about, like, reproduction, that's an effective audience. When you talk about a family, that's an effective audience. When we talk about Instagram likes, that's ineffective. That's looking for dopamine in a place that isn't sustainable, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, it seems like there are a number of people that are making it extremely sustainable as long as the app continues to exist or whatever.
Oh, good point. Yeah.
I think what you're hitting on and what I think we both agree on, is that the, like, how maybe dependent are you on it? In other words, it seems like to me, go back to the gurus, or like, like the Dick Prenicky story or whatever. Not, I shouldn't say gurus, but going back to like spiritual leaders, right? Or
Mhm.
spiritual enlightened, if you will. Um, they needed to be okay, right? They needed to be spiritually, internally okay to be able to be okay. But I mean, but also then to then effectively interact with their audience. I don't know. I think I'm not for sure, and I want to bring this back out because I think in the end we all end up alone. In the end, I mean,
Mhm.
like in the final moments, I don't care if somebody's holding your hand or not.
You come in naked and alone, you go out naked and alone, man.
Yeah, right. I think, right. I haven't had that experience. I haven't even been close. I mean, I've had a lot of really traumatic experiences and very fortunate to still be alive, but I've never been really, really on the brink of death, I don't think. And so, um, but I think when I take my last breath and that, the last heartbeat has gone on, I'm alone in that moment, right?
Mhm.
Like there's an awareness, a consciousness, of aloneness. And again, please, if you're a spiritual person, I'm not trying to negate that I still have my spirituality. As a matter of fact, I think that's the only maybe this is where we're going. That's the only audience really that I should seek to further my connection with, right? Is
Dude,
my
bars,
internal
brother. You're
spiritual
spitting
audience.
bars is what my kids would say. That is just a fantastic spin on this because the only thing that, like, let's zoom out a little bit just for argument's sake, and let's zoom out 100 years, right? All of those people that were born in 1850 and lived from 1850 to 1915 in that range, or you could even take your 80 years, lived to 1930, had whole lives, had families, had audiences like crazy, they had their Instagram accounts, they had their social media, I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
Totally kidding.
Yeah.
That's a whole topic, by the way, the out the window concept, right? Like, back in that 1950 to 19 or 1850 to 1930, human beings only engaged in what they could see out their window. Whereas now when we say out the window, that's we're looking into an iPhone that or an Android that's connected all around the world. And so we're evolution human beings that are only used to dealing with our immediate surroundings. Now our immediate surroundings are the whole world. That's again another topic for another day. But imagine
Yeah,
these people 100 years ago that lived these full lives, that had careers, that had families, that had full lives. And you know, how many of those people do we talk about? Do we, there's a handful, right? If that. But there was I think there was over 1 billion people on the planet at that time. Maybe it was, I don't know, I'd have to look it up, but the point is that when you really zoom out 100 years from now, what all of this stuff that we take so seriously and all of these things that we value so much, our cars, our jobs, our homes, our families, everything, it's there's not going to be a whole lot of record of it. There's not going to be a whole lot of attention on it. There's not going to be much of an audience for it. And so what really becomes important in that scale as we zoom out is what you did with this time that you were here. And to your point, Pat, I think really making some time to check in with source, to check in with our inner core, our inner peace, our inner connection with the universe, that source, or, some people call it God, obviously, but that to me becomes one of the only audiences that I certainly care to be judged by, right? I don't need validation from my social media account. Doesn't mean that I don't get dopamine hits when somebody likes something I say, but I really work
yeah,
hard to not need that.
yeah. I think I would wish that on me, a younger me. I would wish
Mhm.
if 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 the younger version of myself would have been capable, kind of going back to yesterday's conversation, but if the younger version of myself would have been capable of realizing how little I really knew, and how important me being okay with me, which to me really equates to spirituality, right? Like I've chosen at this point in my life to try to develop a connection with something bigger than me, something more powerful than me. But really what that connection and what that foundation has done in my life has allowed me to be okay with not knowing, and it's allowed me to be okay with me. And that combination, interestingly enough, I'm finding now in my life is playing out to be attractive,
Mhm.
magnetic sometimes, meaning that, and it's largely, you'll hear salespeople say this, especially like you can't care about the result. Like if you're too connected to the result, right? And so I think it's interesting, like the audience seekers, if you will, which I think we all are, right? Like
Yeah,
we're all
100%.
seeking audience in various ways, and ultimately, what's really important in all that is like the getting internally okay is monumentally valuable. And then I guess that means that good or bad attention doesn't matter. I just question. I do really question the concept of good or bad attention. Is all attention is good? I think at some point, like, if you end up permanently incarcerated because of some horrific thing that you did, I don't know if that's good attention. I
Well, to
mean,
your point, dude, like a spiritual seeker, whether you're in prison or you're out living a life with your family, it's all kind of the same deal. You always have this space to be able to check in with the peace and presence within you. And so that massive extreme acceptance to what is, like you say it as just be okay right here, right now. That's a To my understanding, and I'm no Buddhist, but to my understanding, that is a Buddhist concept, is to the idea of peace and okayness is to not need anything to happen right now. And that's really hard in today's society. There is a lot of stuff coming at us all the time. To actually be able to sit and to be silent and to just be okay with what is in your moment. That is a big ask right now. You got a lot of people vying for your attention.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I think I think it's always been a big ask, but I think you're right. And by the way, interestingly enough, I think it contributes to the anxiety. I would throw out that I think, and this is again, I have a bit of a science background, as you're aware, but I think that anxiety is part of the human experience as well. And
Mhm.
again, I'm not dismissing, please, folks. Like I'm not
It's
dismissing
all in
any
your head,
ailment.
everybody, just
Yes, exactly. Right. I am not dismissive of those things, and I by no means am trying to dismiss or marginalize anxiety
mental health
or
issues,
or
yeah, but
ADHD or anything like that. But I would say this. I would say that imagine yourself with nothing but a what do you call those things that cover your wiener when you run around in the jungle?
a condom.
Um, a what? No, not a condom. I can't believe you
Sorry.
threw out a condom. That was so perfect. What are those
Sorry.
called? A fig leaf? No, I don't know, dude.
I'll Google it while
Anyway,
we're chatting here so we can have that. Sorry, everybody, I can't help myself.
a condom. But I mean, imagine yourself, you hunter gatherer, small tribe, like enormous creatures on the planet that that can annihilate you very quickly, and your sole objective is to find food and water for the day and survive. I think that's pretty anxiety ridden.
Well,
And I
isn't that what,
think,
isn't that kind of what like designed our species, was that anxiety?
well, I think that's what I'm saying is that it's I think it's a kind of a human thing. Like anxiety is. Oh, did you hear that noise? Did you see that track? Are there berries over there? Do you smell water or do you hear water? Like there's just this constant. And by the way, I think that's ADHD as well. I think those two things are pretty synonymous in some ways, anxiety and ADHD. And I think they're pretty human in origination. I don't know, and I don't think that today's world. I think that it's like they're carried traits. I don't know. God, what am I spewing? I sound like some dipstick that thinks he knows a lot. The reality of it is that I think they're carried traits that were survival things. And I think that what unfortunately at least for me, what they do now is they make me overthink the to-do list. They make me overthink, the people that maybe have liked me on Facebook. They make me overthink the Instagram scrolling. They make me anxious about this or that. And I don't know. I just think that I've carried I've carried it too far in a world that it's unbelievably unnecessary. And like if I'm okay internally, spiritually, and my basic needs are easily met, right? Then wow, maybe I could step back a little bit and not be as anxious as that guy with the condom on running around the jungle.
I'm glad you came. Loincloth was what you were thinking.
Loin, it's your loins, baby.
Cover
Okay,
your loins.
and that's so. Uh,
So, yes, and honestly, we have to and again, back to pull a little bit out of yesterday, but, we had talked about dogs being really hyper aware of their
My
present.
dogs are annoying the shit out of me right now. The weed eaters keep walking around the house, dude. They weed eated around my house like 8 times now, dude. And the dogs cannot stop barking at
They
them.
can't
Right?
handle it.
They have weed eater anxiety. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So speaking of weed eater anxiety, well, and that's an interesting thing too, because even something so vigilantly and intensively focused on its present moment is still so clearly fraught with anxiety. I mean, I've had a Chiweenie in my life. It's a part Chihuahua, part Wiener dog. You can imagine that was an anxiety-ridden little puppy, and so
Oh,
even with them, there's still a ton of anxiety there, and it bodes recognizing that over the course of evolution and this millennia that we've been alive as human beings, for us to just dismiss that that's a part of our journey and that's a part of our process is a little flagrant. Like, we have to understand that this all comes from somewhere, and again, not to downplay intense
yeah,
and severe
right.
emotional and mental
It's
and
real. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's
real.
very real. I will say, and this is probably a concept for another day too, but like the idea that, you just ask yourself, where does everybody experience their version of reality? Everybody experiences every love they've ever had, every job they've ever had, every possession they've ever had. Everybody only experiences all of this in their own minds. So when somebody tells me it's all in your head, well, no shit, Sherlock. Where the else would it be? Come on. I experience everything there. Give me a break. But yes,
I
everything
experienced
happens.
it in my loins.
espe- yes, we do.
Oh my.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah,
I
dude.
experienced it in my loins. It's down there. It's
So
happening.
okay, so like to bring it full on, full circle, like uh audience or not, I think maybe the reason why this came up for us is because I feel like we're all kind of over the monetization of an audience. Is that
Everybody is
right?
seeking out profit, man. Jeez, Louise.
Or it's
Everybody
only
has to make profit on stuff. It's insane.
yeah. So well, and I know that we both. This is interesting, like because even I've always had conflict around a nonprofit because nonprofits they make money. I mean, like nonprofits, they wouldn't exist if they didn't make money, right? So, I mean, like
So many
if
of
I'm
them have boards that make millions of dollars a year, Pat, right? Like,
yeah,
it's
if
crazy.
I'm in charge, right? If I'm in charge of the nonprofit, I make a pretty good salary. At
Sure
least if it's a big
do.
nonprofit. Anyway, the I think the point is, and the reason why we brought this to the forefront as a topic for us is that there is a wee bit of conflict here. I love that I just said wee bit.
A wee bit.
There's a little bit of conflict here because, man, here's the deal. At the end of the day, I think, and I actually said this at a graduation speech. At the end of the day, there are literally hundreds of people around you all the time that would be willing to help you, right? Like, and I don't know if you agree with this, but I think oftentimes I'm more willing to help a stranger even than I am to some of the people that are closest to me,
Yeah,
right?
I've
Like
heard, yeah.
I will go out of my way to try to help a stranger. Now, maybe that's an ego thing, like you said earlier. Maybe that's something where I'm trying to, toot my own horn to the world. Look at me. I helped this, stranger. I don't know. I just know that we're surrounded by people that are willing to interact and help and be a part of pretty regularly. And so here we are. We're kind of trying to maybe put this in people's lives as some sort of value add, if you will, and not necessarily monetize it. And so therefore the question is audience or no audience? Well, you and I both have spent time in recovery, right? Like the audience is pretty damn important early on. And there's no, again, that's not monetized, right? Like nobody's trying to
Right.
make a buck off of that. And yeah, sure, maybe some egos get stroked as far as like, oh, I helped that guy out. But ultimately, the real true nature of the recovery rooms, if you will, or process is that it's people helping people, right? That's one of my it's funny that it comes from Wedding Crashers, but it's literally in my signature for my email. People helping people, it's powerful stuff, right? And it is powerful stuff. I mean, like when people get together and help each other, it's really powerful. So I guess at the very end of the day, like if I was going to say, do we need an audience or do we not? The answer, clearly is no. We don't need an audience because we've been doing this for 8 to 10 years at least already, and have had extreme value from this process. And but right, caveat, right, small print, fine print. But having an audience makes it to where maybe we get to share with other people. I don't know.
You know, what's
Is that
interesting as you were talking about recovery, what came up for me, and this is so great, is that at first we need that audience. We need people. It's like a kid that doesn't have a fully developed frontal lobe yet. They need that audience in order to be their logic center until they develop their own. And then once they develop their own, then much like us in recovery, then we become the audience, and how valuable it is both for them, but even more so for us to be that audience in recovery. And then, I think that's what we're doing now too, Pat, is like you were always an audience for me, and I was always an audience for you, which is why this was so impactful for both of us, is we had somebody that was willing to listen, and now we have this audience that they're going to be willing to listen, or else if you've listened this far, obviously you're willing to listen and hear a different way of processing some of this information. And good for you, like, thanks for being here, but also, way to, like, hear the call in your own life and try to do something different, because maybe what we were doing wasn't working or wasn't effective. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong, just makes it ineffective. And so being the audience is so valuable. I see it as, in being a dad, in, being a son, being a friend, being a brother. I I can see the value in being an audience. And maybe that's where this conversation is going to shift, rather than need so much from people around you, is where can I be of service and how can I be helpful to the people in my life by being an audience to them.
dude? My lord, buddy, you just opened up. I can't believe that you're throwing this out. Like it. So being an audience, like when you're alone in the woods, if you're really being an audience, you will experience an amazing, uplifting joy. If you're really being the audience,
Wow.
right? Like alone in the woods with the creek and birds and insects, flowers, snow, whatever. Like if you are
Wow.
really being an audience, it's a phenomenally uplifting experience, dude. And so, like, wow, this is great. So if I'm a student and I'm really attuned and listening to what the teacher's saying, and I'm giving that knowing nod, and I respond appropriately when things are said or whatever, dude. Wow. Thanks, man. That was really good
Yeah.
because I've actually really luckily cultivated that in my life. Like I can be in a pretty big room with a group of people, and oftentimes the speaker starts talking to me directly, right? Because I'm engaged.
You're there.
I'm an
Yeah.
audience. I really want to hear what you have to say. I'm really trying to get something out of this. I'm not looking to be different than you. I'm not looking to criticize you. I'm just really in. I want to value my time and your time and get something out of it. And I mean, I've had people in like Zoom webinars even point out like, "Hey Pat, I really appreciate you being engaged." Right.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Um, and again, this is not about me tooting my own horn. What I'm trying to say is that it's great, dude. It's like an art to an audience. I've oftentimes thought, and I think you and I have talked about this, that really there should be implants in every audience, right? Like at the
Right.
rock
Right.
show, there should be that implant, that guy that's like just really vocal, or that girl that's really vocal, maybe the one that rips her bra off, right? Or whatever. But
Hmm.
she's just like fully into the experience and like, sorry, folks, I guess I didn't need to say rip her bra off,
Right, like,
um,
maybe
but
we'll do a topic about, and maybe not an audience, but do you need groupies? Because you might need
do you need
groupies.
to rip your bra off? Oh, that
We
guy that ripped his
Yes,
Speedo
sorry.
off.
Just spinning that speedo over my head. Nobody wants to see that.
So, but dude, I just really appreciate how you flipped it around on it on its head there, man. Like, um, huh. And you know what's really fascinating, and this could be a whole nother topic. As a matter of fact, it probably should be because I think we've been talking for a while now. But um, what does that mean? What does it mean to be a good audience? Right? Like, what is it? What does it entail? And then also, what does it mean to be a discerning honest audience? Right?
I think
Like,
it's
am
so
I just
difficult in life, and I'm glad you brought that up. And I think it plays into this topic. We got a couple minutes we can go here, but I to like people talk about selflessness and they talk about I mean, there's like this accusatory tone to our world right now in our culture in the United States. Like it's so binary, it's so red versus blue, or it's like there's a white and black, a right and a wrong to everything right now. And it's like it,
dude?
when we say selfless, it's really, I mean, it's really hard for me to wrap my head around any selfless act I've ever done truly being
Dude,
selfless because there's payoff there for me. It feels
damn right.
good. And I'm like, I'm really holding back sharing some really great stuff I did because I don't need you guys to know how awesome I am. Right. You know what I'm saying though, right? Like it's like I
Yep.
there's been some times where I felt really powerful and I try really hard to hold those close to myself because I don't want to be found out for a couple of things that I've done because I want them to be so badly to be from a selfless place. However, the second I did it, I just was flushed with dopamine and serotonin and it felt great. And so I think, especially with teenagers in my life and new family, I'm recently remarried and I have a whole new family I'm kind of building. I think learning to be an audience to them, especially as a grown man in my life, trying to be a king of my kingdom and build a partnership with this beautiful new queen of mine. It's really interesting to try to take myself, my wants, my needs, my desires off the table at least some of the time, so that I can be an audience for my new family and that I can listen effectively and hear. And one of the things that's coming up for us a lot is um, my wife's kiddo wants to pay for things a lot. Her history around money is different than mine. I look at my money being kind of the family's money, and they look at the money kind of being each and every individual's money. I wonder if that's just a spiritual concept as you walk a spiritual path for a very long time, you start to see humanity as a single entity. And you'll probably hear me say a lot in these conversations, zoom out, or let's take this to 30,000 feet and look around and see it with this different perspective because it is so massively effective. But one of the things that I've realized is I make more money than anybody in my family. And so when we sit down to a meal, all of us together, there's no question to me, like, I got this. But I also have a lot of demands on my money as well. And so it isn't just always such a no-brainer. They're a young couple starting out. They probably have a little extra to throw. I mean, I've got, you know, two kids going into college and anyway, I don't need to we all have our things. But trying to get out of my own way and my own thoughts and feelings and allow them to have a place in our lives as well. I mean, how good must it feel to contribute in that way? Because I know that it feels good to contribute. So, being a good audience is being a good receiver. Look, so many of us are good givers, right? Like if you really want the abundance of the universe to come into your life, and I don't want to preach to anybody, and I promise I won't, I'll try hard not to get on the soapbox too much, but
What
I'll
you
just
should do?
what you need to do? Listen here. What you need to do is listen, Pat. Pat listen. We love that. We make fun of that all the time. When somebody tells you to listen, that is condescending. Stop doing that.
Ah,
But when we're talking about this idea of manifestation or growth in our own lives, one of the things that I've realized for myself was I had to give some effort to being better at receiving. And it's really fun to give, and it's really fun to watch people use your services and appreciate them. But it is, for me anyway, I found that it's really difficult to receive. And so that is a part of this audience piece, right? Like learning to receive information, like Patrick's saying, in a really effective way, to where you're almost being called out for your engagement as an audience member. And people being really seen or heard by you is a gift that we have control over whether or not we give. And I think making an effort to be an audience more than getting one was a really interesting turn this conversation took. I did not expect that at all, honestly.
Yeah, it was a beautiful turn. Thank you. I want to point out that it's a two-way street. You know how big I am on the concept of kind of reciprocation. Um, and obviously that's really a topic for us at some point. But I do want to throw out that if you're this works both ways. If you're being a great audience, then you're getting something out of this, right? Meaning that if I'm listening to a speaker and I'm being a great audience, that I'm getting something out of it. I'm engaged. It's a win-win, right? It's not just the speakers getting something out of me being a great audience. It's that I'm getting something out of the speaker that they're sharing with me as well, right?
Right.
Or musician or artist or whatever it may be that I'm being an audience for, or my wife, like you said, what that was beautiful, right? Or my kids. If I'm being a great audience, not only am I getting something out of it, but so are they. Right. And again, as a great audience, you don't necessarily need to be looking to get something out of it, but most of the time you are. I will throw out to you, and this has been one of the best experiences that I've ever had at a musical show, and I'll just call it out for the person it was. Brandy Carlisle, of all of the artists that I've ever seen on a stage in a musical performance, Brandy Carlisle gave everything she possibly could to her
I'll be
audience,
darned.
right? Like she literally wanted to make the show memorable and valuable. And both of us, I went with my partner, we walked away, her and I walked away, and we're like, wow. And of course, then again, win-win. We were fully engaged the entire time, right? There wasn't a should we go wander over, and get a
Mhm.
snack, like the doldrum part or whatever. We were fully engaged the entire time because she was fully engaged. And so the reciprocation piece comes when it's a mutually beneficial exchange, right? And it's just like that rough grouse. Like hopefully he had an engaged audience.
The fan ass.
Right? Puppy head fan ass had his condom on out there in the woods, found him a mate.
Well, and it's difficult, and this will obviously have to be another topic, but it's difficult without, and I can't believe we didn't hit on this one sooner, but it's almost impossible to talk about whether or not you want an audience without addressing the fact of your performance. And thank you for bringing up Brandy Carlisle, because that is just a wonderful example. And even as you and I pour into these conversations, one thing I noticed yesterday by doing our first call was how usually I'm doing something else when we have these talks. We have them so often, I gotta do other things in my life. I got a lot of crap to do, and I don't have these hours and hours and hours. I think you agree. We got to multitask. But yesterday, I was so engaged with this conversation and with you that it's impossible for us not to talk about us as performers and what we're giving to the world. Like we're sharing our gifts, and you and I are doing this because this conversation, this call back and forth has been so valuable to the two of us that we want to share this as a gift to the world.
Yeah. What's interesting is that, like we've created the 14-day hard reset to offer people some awareness, to offer people a protocol to discover some awareness. But in the scheme of things, dude, what's I almost again, I'm not arguing with you, and I don't want I'm not taking offense, but I this isn't performance. Like you and I, the only thing that has changed about our conversations now is that
Mhm.
sometimes we say, sometimes we say we hope you get it, or we hope you're listening, or we hope you get something out of it. That never went on before because we weren't trying to potentially be talking to a group of listeners.
Right.
And I hope to God that Scott and I don't change how we interact because of an audience. Like the audience to
Amen.
me, I would stop this immediately if I felt like it was interfering with my ability to be genuine and vulnerable and honest and human with this exchange, because that's the value for me.
Dude,
It
way
has
to go, Pat.
absolutely nothing to do with the audience.
And just so, yeah, thank you, Pat, for saying that, because just so you know, like Patrick's talking about, there's no difference in this conversation for him and I. This is literally just us sharing this with you guys. It is in no way, shape, or form like we just lay out the topic, we ask the question, and we hit go. We don't talk
Fully
about this
unscripted. Yeah.
beforehand. We don't
Yeah.
write down other than the one topic that we're going to start the show with. We don't even really have much of a conversation about it before we just
No.
hit record, because we think that
And
the
really,
value is the realness.
I think you can agree, and we've said this a number of times, Scott, that even is unnecessary. That the reality of it is that even the calls where we processed, dude, there's been calls where like we ended that call with me yelling at the top of my lungs at you and hanging up. And and dude, I would argue that would have been a valuable call for us to record.
Agreed. Oh my God, I agree completely.
I
I agree
mean,
completely.
people would. It would have been wonderful for people to get to see what an ass I can be, and how destructive my emotions when they're guiding my behavior can be. And it would have been really valuable, and it wouldn't have had a topic.
Pat
I mean,
loses
like,
his mind, or Scott
right.
triggers
The
Patrick,
destruction
or
of emotional behavior.
to
Right? Like,
to Pat's point, we can't put this all on Pat either, because what's going on there anytime we've had conversations like that is that, and we've been friends for a long, long time and kept this really open, amazing conversation going for all these times, because we are so willing to be vulnerable and honest with each other to such an extreme amount that sometimes tempers flare. And what Patrick and I have learned is that we have same fear, opposite ends of the spectrum. And so when those come out, they come out pretty intense. And I'm way more likely to play the victim, and Patrick's way more likely to play I hate to say the victor, but it just worked with the wordplay. But Patrick plays the aggressor, I play the tuck your tail and run. And neither one of those are powerful in the way we live our lives. And so we've
oh,
we've
it's
spent
powerful.
it's powerful.
So,
But when we come
hey,
together, that's the value,
yeah,
right? That's when we see each other truly, and like we live with this heavy duty amount of forgiveness, excuse me, in each other's lives, that like we keep going because this is so valuable to us.
yeah. Hey, I do want to make sure that I bring this up. I just realized this, and I don't think we've really talked about it. Is that one thing that we haven't really talked about is the importance of audience, if you will. And what I mean by that is, and this is kind of what this graduation speech was about. Like, I was literally invited to speak at a graduation speech. I was a teacher in this community, a very small community. Some events in my life had made it to where I couldn't even speak at the school graduation. I was outcast, and but I was already well enough liked and connected in the community, and apparently respected, that I got invited, right? And they set it up to where I could come speak to the kids anyway. They basically put it together out at this ranch house. And man,
Wow, that's cool.
I was in a humble place in my life, right? I had effed up so monumentally that I was being told by the administrators of the school district that I could not speak in public to the kids that wanted me to speak in public, right? So it was a bittersweet mix, right? Like it
Yeah.
was, and so my my entire speech was around kind of around this, around like there's always there are always people available. There's always help. There's always support. And I think it was mainly me just processing like out loud, like, hey, Mr. Macho Camacho, like there are people that you can get help. You can actually there these people love you. There are people that love you. You can find help. You can get through this. You have an audience. There are
Mm.
counselors.
Wow.
There are therapists. There's endless options for help. Now, that requires that you're still willing and open to have an audience,
Wow.
right?
Way to like bring it all back and tie it into the
But
very end, dude.
see, it like
Out of the
it does. It
park.
really it gets me kind of worked up, right? Because here's the thing: is that these days, and I would actually argue that it's more than ever. It's really easy to cast yourself out, to to choose to no longer have an
Jesus. Do
audience.
you need an audience? Yes, you fucking do. Damn.
Yes
Yeah.
and no. I mean, like again, that's a weird anomaly
I
considering that
know. I
what
know.
we were previously saying is that me being okay internally, spiritually. But I think what I'm saying is that if I'm being real with myself, that probably I am not always 100% okay internally, spiritually, and therefore my audience, my friend Scott, right, my circle of confidants that I go to when I'm in indecision and when I'm challenged and when I'm emotional and when I'm gonna do stupid things in my life, those human beings, my audience, man, they are monumentally valuable to me. And when I'm at my worst is when I'm choosing to cut those ties.
Amen. That is 100% facts right there. And just to be really clear, when we talk about spiritually enlightened or the highest levels of seeker, they can barely even be in this world without assistance because they're just drooling, smiling entities. They are to the normal human being, Pat, those guys are checked out. But there is a radiance and an energy signature coming off of them that people would pilgrimage thousands of miles by foot just to be in the presence of some of these large personalities. It's not about the personality, it's about their connectedness with source. And so I think what it comes down to, and please, if you're struggling out there and if you're having a hard time, what Patrick said right there was the most powerful way to end this call today, because your audience is so extremely valuable and so extremely needed. And reach out to them, reach out and touch base. Now, dude, great call today. I Before I let us go, I just want to really quick, Patrick had mentioned it earlier. Pat and I have come up with a 14-day protocol called the Hard Reset Protocol. You can find it at the hard reset protocol.com. It's As of right now, it's a 14-day hard reset. Turn the computer off, wait 30 seconds, turn it back on. If you feel like you're drifting in life, or you're at a point in life where you don't have what you think you should at this point and you don't know why, this one's really effective. It's a simple implementation. It costs a little money because we're doing our beta thing here. We're talking about not needing an audience or profit, but it's a way that we're able to continue to put these shows on, and also really it's a way for us to be able to share our gifts with the world and help men refocus in their lives to actually have some awareness and make a change. But again, that's the hardresetprotocol.com. We're kind of running our sort of initial beta. Get out there and get it. And my goodness, Patrick, great call, dude. Thank you so much. I love you, buddy.
Yeah, buddy, my pleasure. I will throw out, as far as the reset goes, make a small investment. I think it would be silly to do it for free because you won't do it.
Yeah.
Make an investment, spend a little money on yourself and make an investment and see if it helps. And if it doesn't, call Scott and I.
Yeah, well,
Like send us an email.
yeah,
Like
it's not about the
we'll be
money.
your audience.
Yeah, we'll be your audience. Let us know.
We'd love to hear from you. If it's not working for you, then tell us why and
Yeah.
how, because we want your feedback. We want to be your audience, and we want to be an engaged sounding board. And we may tell you to piss off, but we'll listen before we do.
You may become a topic on the show.
Piss off,
Piss
the piss
off.
off show.
Love you. Love you, everybody. Love you, Pat.
Okay, love you too, buddy. Bye.